Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today and the learning for this entire week is sponsored by the Torah Center Silver Donor, Jonathan Cohen, in loving memory, Leilun Ishma, Jonathan's father, Zalman Cohen, Zalman Ben Hana. Also dedicated today in loving memory of Jack Ajmi, Alav Shalom, and Ishmat Yaakov Ben Nazira, Alav Shalom, sponsored by the Ajmi family. For the Refuah Shlema of Eliyahu Shimon Mazal Fortuné, and the continued and Chaim Rafael Ben Frida, and the continued health of Chana Bat Tzimafega. Also dedicated merit for a speedy and complete Refuah Shlema for Amir Chaim Ben Faro, sponsored anonymously. Dedicated love memory to Nishmat Chana Bat Moshe Chaim Vefarcha Alea Shalom on her second Azkara, sponsored by her son Jason. It should be Be'ezrat Hashem, a tremendous Ilui Neshama. Thank you, Jason. Also dedicated merit for a speedy and complete Refuah Shlema for Ishrat Bat Heli, sponsored by Rebecca Chakshur. Dedicated loving memory to Nishmat Nisim Zaga, Nisim Ben Salcha. Jessica, your father is in all of our memories, and we can't wait to see you back again. The year of Breakfast in the Class, dedicated loving memory to Nishmat Ruth Orfali Bat Adela, sponsored by her family. My friends, let us begin. The fascinating thing about this parasha is that it talks about a very interesting category. The category of a Kohen who is a Baal Mum. A Kohen who has an ailment, a defect, if you will. And we know that a Kohen is unable to serve in the Beit HaMikdash so long as he has a mum. In fact, there was a very special room in the Beit HaMikdash where the primary job of this little kind of Bet Din was to actually check and make sure that a Kohen was fit to serve. So imagine they had a room where everyone could come. I have this problem. I'm not sure. Does this count? Am I allowed to be a Kohen? I have this issue. I have that issue. Fascinating. And yet, with all the talk about the mum of a Kohen Gadol, I want to share with you something fascinating. In the same way that we have this issue for a Kohen, that the Kohen who has a mum is a problem that he can't serve, the Torah actually does not really talk so much about the fundamental mum of every single human being. Now I want to talk a little bit about this idea today, because I believe that really this is something that doesn't get enough coverage, okay, in terms of its importance in Judaism. And that is as follows. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta used to say all the time that the purpose of a human being here in this world, what did you come here to do? You came here for Shvirat HaMidot, for the breaking of your Midot. That's what he'd say. And he would say as well that the changing or the breaking of one midah, of one negative character trait, was so hard, it was harder than finishing all of Shas. That's what he would say. That's the famous line of Rabbi Yisrael Salanta. Now, I want to just share something. Until the Chafetz Chaim came along, were we as a Jewish people allowed to speak Lashon Hara? No. What did the Chafetz Chaim do? He shone a light on the fact that Bnei Israel had a mitzvah that they were not following to the level that they should have been following. He created a revolution of clean speech. That's what he achieved with his Sefer Chafetz Chaim. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. It's mentioned numerous times. Lo telech rachil be'amecha, right? Makere eu basater. Not allowed to hit your friend in a hidden way. How do you hit your friend in a hidden way? By speaking about them. He doesn't know where all this damage is coming to him from. My friends, when the Chafetz Chaim led this revolution, the world found out how bad Lashon Hara was. But there are many people who did this in many different ways. Like as an example, Rav Nachman of Breslov led a revolution. What was the revolution of Rav Nachman of Breslov, amongst other things? He led a revolution against Atzvut and for Simcha. Now today, it's manifested by people that like to dance on top of vans. They'll put the music on, they'll dance. That's maybe the post-neo-Breslavism. But you ask the OG Breslov guys, my best friend Maya, one of my, I have Baruch Hashem, some very close friends in this world I was blessed with. One of my oldest and best friends, Maya Safti. They were going to Uman forget before cars were invented, before wagons had wheels. They would fly in and then they would get there, horse and buggy. There was nothing there when they went. Like David Asulin back in the day. These guys struggled to get to Uman. They were OG Hasidim of Breslov when Rav Nissen Maimon used to come and give the classes in Hathaway. I remember when I was a little boy, everyone there was adults, and there's one little Inkei. Me, I was going. I would beg my parents to stay up late so I could listen to his classes. So Rav Nachman led a revolution against the Marash Chora, against the damage of sadness and atzvut and depression in a person's life. He woke people up to the mitzvah of being always b'simcha. Okay, each person, each one of these people led somewhat of a revolution in the area where they saw that Am Yisrael was not being careful enough with bitachon, with shmirat Shabbat, with tzitzit. Each one, marki de itle, umarki de itle. But what Rabbi Yisrael Salanta taught people was that what you're not realizing here is that the Torah is really a substrata, or perhaps Midot is the substrata of the Torah, because the substrata is what's under. What you're looking at as an example, when you go to the gym, is a bunch of machines. And a person might be forgiven for thinking, when you walk into the gym, you know what the purpose here, what I'm doing here? I have to push that thing over there. I need to push it forward 100 times. What is that rope for? The object of being in the gym here is to pull this rope down 50 times. The rope is not attached to anything. I mean, of course it's attached to something, but it's not attached to anything important. After you lifted it 50 times, what changed? The weight is exactly where it was before. Were you grinding wheat? Were you pushing a luggage conveyor belt in the airport? What'd you do? You did nothing. But each thing in the gym is a mechanism to be able to target a specific muscle group. So the machine is built in a way where this thing, too long pole, you have to grab it on both sides, you pull it down, what does it do? Works your lats. Another machine over here like this, what does it do? It's a military press, works your shoulders. Another one like this, you lean over the thing, you're saying tachanun, what do? What is it? Preacher curls, works out your triceps. Each machine, you like it, I see, Mark. That was special for you, all right? Each object in the gym is designed to be able to do something, not to do the machine itself. What's the purpose of the machine in the workout? It's actually the purpose of the workout is for what happens after the workout. The mitzvot, said Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, are the same thing. When God asks you to do something, like as an example, He asks you to keep Shabbat, to God it doesn't really matter per se whether you lit or didn't light a fire, whether you carried or you didn't carry. The structure of the mitzvot of Shabbat were designed to be able to create a space where there is no creative work, where we could drive home to ourselves that there is a creator and that creator is God, and we are not the creators. 6 days we do a charade where we create, but we know ultimately that there's one creator and it's Him. It also imbues within us this ability to think to ourselves that something, all the time I changed my world. If something is this way, I create something new, bring something new into my world, and I change my world. But one day a week, I remind myself that however the world is Vayar Elokim Ki Tov. And God saw that the world as it is was good. It's okay for a person to look at their life and think as is, without changing anything. Hashem, thank you. My life is good. That means that the mitzvot are actually, they are machines designed to do something. Says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, what were they designed to do? They were designed to change your midot. And really, the reason why midot are not put in the Torah, why doesn't it say in the Torah, thou shalt not lose your temper? Is kaas, is anger bad? How bad is anger, says the Gemara? Kol ha'ko'es, someone who gets angry, ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. You'd think that if kaas was that bad, the Torah would bother mentioning it one time. 94 times it tells me that God took us out of Egypt. 6 times it tells me not to eat a bug. Can't tell me one time not to get angry? What's the answer? The Torah does say don't get angry. How does the Torah say don't get angry? Lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha. Don't hate your brother in your heart. He did something to you, don't speak lashon hara about him. Lo tikom, don't take revenge. Lo titor, don't bear a grudge. What do you think the Torah is telling you? It's telling you all the things that happen when you get angry at somebody. So all of these things were ways to speak about the midot. Now let me perhaps shift the way we look at midot for a minute to come into line with what Rabbi Yisrael Salanter is telling us. My rabbi used to say this on Yom Kippur. Well, not on Yom Kippur, but about Yom Kippur. My rabbi would say that there's 2 lists that we mention and that we beat our breast about on Yom Kippur. The first one is Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dov Lashon Hara, Hevinu, Yishanu. It's a short list. The second list is a much longer list. Right? Many, many, many averot. Never mind if you say the Viduy of Rabbeinu Nisim. Very long. All the alifs, all the bets, all the gimals. In aseh, in lo ta'aseh. Deoraita, the Rabbanans. My rabbi said, why are there 2 separate lists? A long list and a short list. And my rabbi explained that the first list of sorries that we give to God are not sins. They are attitudes. So as an example, when I'm saying Hashamnu, I'm telling Hashem, I made not a sin called Hashamnu, but rather, I did so many averot. You know why? Because I could not take responsibility. There's so many things that I said, it's not my fault, it's their fault. Hashamnu means I'm responsible, I'm guilty. How many times do we get into a fight? You know why we let ourselves get into a fight? He started. What do you want from me? The guy came to me with that kind of a deal. The guy came to me ripping me off. Now I'm going to show him what it looks like to be ripped off. So all of the sins that I've done, they are rooted in an attitude. That's what Rabbi Yisrael Salanter is telling you. There are so many averot that actually come from the fact that you can't manage your kaas, your anger. How many averot in the Torah do you think are linked to the midah, the character trait of ga'ava, of arrogance? Unlimited. Where the mitzvah was designed to break the midah of ga'ava. So really, when you look at the Torah and you find many different mitzvot, what you're really looking at is the Torah trying to change not the actions of a human being, but the nature of a human being. Because ultimately, if I try and fix my actions, but I don't fix my nature, what's going to happen? I'm just going to do it again and again and again. That's just my nature. It's my tendency. So what will we do? Stay in this perpetual loop of sins because I can't help myself and sorries because I did those sins? Says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, greater than finishing Shas is breaking one midah. Now, I find it interesting. Imagine if anyone here finished Shas, I don't know if we have any Daf Yomis amongst us, or if we have any Shas Yidin, like they say. But you finish Shas, boy, do you throw a party. You know, you got to go to Reserve Cut and only get the Wagyu, grass-fed, olive-rubbed, massaged steak from the cow that itself ran 6 marathons, was a champion, you know, whatever. Yeah, nothing is good enough. Sorry? Who also finished Shas, exactly, and voted for Shas. I'm not saying if you voted for Shas, you're a cow. Just don't misread me here. My friends, could you imagine someone calling all their friends and telling them, guys, I'm having a big event in Reserve Cut, big honor for me to invite you. You know, oh really, what's it for? I'm celebrating. Really, what do you celebrate? I'm making siyum. What's your siyum? You finished the Shas? No. Gemara? No. Mishnayot? No. What'd you finish? Your homework? What'd you finish? Guy says, well, you know, I've been working on being stingy, and I'm no longer stingy, so I wanted to celebrate the breaking of a midah. Has anyone here been invited to a siyum on a person who went to anger management? No. But it's ironic because this is a bigger accomplishment. I didn't say that, by the way. I didn't say it. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta said that. Now, why is it? I think there's multiple reasons why. We don't have to get into why we don't celebrate our faults in a very public way. But imagine that's how we viewed our life. So if someone asks you, what are you living for? You know, most of us would say, I want to build a nice family, want to make sure to have marry off my kids, have some grandkids. Incorrect. What are you here for? For this one, to conquer their anger. And that one, to become a little bit less arrogant. And this one, to work on their midat savlanut, on patience. And that one, he's too atzel, he's too lazy. Says the Kedushat Levi, Rabbi Levi, says the Kedushat Levi. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. I wish Yitzchak Guterman was here today to hear us quote the Kedushat Levi. He says that most people, when they work on their Midot, what do? They go to the store for Midot, the Midot store. When they finally, the guy says, can I help you? No, I'm just looking. I'll never forget that, by the way. I once got on an Egged bus in Israel. I still remember it was right off of the four corners of Kikar Shabbat. I don't know if anyone knows where that is, in Geula. So I was going with some friends to Kever Rachel. All of a sudden, I get on the bus. Some guy tried to pickpocket me. I felt a hand in my pocket, my coat pocket. Anyway, I had some good reflexes back in the day. I went wham! I caught the guy's arm and his hand is now in my pocket. And I calmly turned around with a smile on my face, and I said to this guy, "Can I help you, or are you just looking?" It's one of my all-time high moments of my life, by the way. Right? I always think to myself, you know what I think of this story? On Yom Kippur. You know, we say in the Viduy we say, right, that we don't have the chutzpah, right? En lanu metzach leharim rosh. Right? We don't have the chutzpah to pick up our head to say, you know, tzadikim anachnu ve'lo chatanu. You know, Hashem, I'm not here to tell you I'm good. I know I'm terrible. I know I've done everything wrong. I know I dropped the ball 1,000 times. I know. Call me Bill Buckner. A special one for the oldies. Call me Bill Buckner. I know. I always think to myself now of Hashem grabbing my arm with my hand in his pocket and then turning around to me with a smile on his face. With my hand in the cookie jar. Has every moment of sin that I've ever done frozen in time. Pictures, mixed tiles on the wall. How about this one, Shlomo? Oh yeah, well you have to understand it was very difficult. What about that one? How about that one? Can I help you? Or are you just looking? My friends, says the Kedushat Levi, most people, they'll walk into the Midot store. Guy says, can I help you? And you say, yes, actually, I'm looking for a very large muzzle. Really? Yes, I'm looking for a muzzle for my big fat mouth. I mouth off. I say the meanest things. I shout at people. I lose my temper. I say things I regret. I gotta figure out how to control it. Most people's response to their bad midah is to muzzle the midah. Says the Kedushat Levi, that's not what you're here for. You're here to break the midah, not to cover it with duct tape, not to zip tie it shut. Because if you zip tie it shut, you're left with a spiritual mum which doesn't allow you to have a connection to God like the Kohen with the mum cannot serve. So what do we need to do if we're trying to break a midah? Says the Kedushat Levi something unbelievable. He says, let's say a person is lazy. Any lazy people here? One guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. I can't say everybody, but at least 2 of the people or 3 of the people there that said they were lazy are from the least lazy people that I know. One of the people who raised his hands that he said he was lazy was a guy that the minute that anything is needed, instantly he's already ordered it. I think the only reason why he raised his hand was because he's so not lazy that when I asked people to raise their hand, his hand was the first one up. You like that? Huh? Lazy, you're too lazy. Says the Kedushat Levi, you're lazy. So what do? He says, you go to 40-day Midot boot camp. There used to be something called fat camp. Now we can't have it because we don't want to fat shame anybody. So instead, they die from obesity, but their feelings are protected. There used to be something called fat camp. What is Midot boot camp? Midot boot camp, says Rabbi Yitzchak, is for 40 days. You do everything in the exact opposite manner of your midah that you're trying to break. You set your watches Start your engines. Day 1 of 40 days, you wake up in the morning instead of 6:45 for the 7:30 minyan, you wake up at 6 o'clock. Joey over here is telling me, I see you at 6 o'clock, I raise you 5 o'clock. You get to shul, you don't walk up the stairs, you run up the stairs. You go on your phone and you uninstall Uber and you walk everywhere. There's no Instacart, you're Instacart. You take everything possible that is feeding your addiction to laziness and you eliminate it for 40 days. By the time the 40 days are over, says the Dushat Levi, if you've eliminated it from your 40 days, you're a changed man. That's what he says. By the way, interestingly enough, usually when people talk about this, they say 30 days. But actually the Torah says 40 days. Can anyone tell me where we see this in Judaism? 49 days. You mean when he was on the mountain? First of all, excellent. Let me go one step before. There's a time of year that is dedicated to Teshuva, to changing your ways. What are those days? The 30 days of Elul and the 10 days Aseret Yemei Teshuva. So to change, how long is that? 40 days. In fact, in Judaism, the number 40 is always associated with rebirth. 40 days of gestation of a baby. 40 sa'ah in a mikveh. 40 days of mabul to fix the world. 40 days of Moshe as a human to be in Shamayim so that he could become the giver of the Torah. My friends, if this is the case, I feel like we all have our work cut out for us. Laser focus. What's my moom? What's my moom? Where was I brought to this earth? Which midot, defects, do I have to be able to focus on destroying? What a shame it would be to have gone to the gym, to have done all the work and used all the machines and done all the mitzvot, but not to have changed the human being that the Torah was designed to be able to change. This, my friends, is, I believe, what our parashah is teaching us when it talks about the Kohen Ba'almu. May Hashem bless us, Be'ezat Hashem, to be able to fix this idea. And I'll end with this from the Arizal. Now, En lanu esek b'nistarim. What do I know about the hidden secrets of the Kabbalah? But the Arizal says, if a person wants to find Hatzlacha in their life, they should be mitkaven and mitbonen, focus, concentrate on the letters that spell their name. And if that doesn't work, you take it to the next level and you focus on the milui otiyot. What does that mean? So let's use my name. Shin, Lamed, Mem, Yud are the letters of my name. So to focus on those letters. Then if that doesn't work, he says, you take the letters itself, Shin, how do you spell the word Shin? The letter Shin. Shin, Yud, Nun. So I've already thought of, focused on Shin Lamed Mem Yud, Mem Hey. But in the Shin, I now focus on Yud Nun, the Lamed, Mem Dalet, Yud Nun, Mem Dalet. Hey, hey. Right? Sorry, Mem, Mem. Hey, hey. Focus on the letters that fill the back letters of those letters. Says the Arizal. And if that doesn't work, focus on the Milui of the Milui. Yud, Vav Dalet. Nun, Vav Nun. Ad infinitum. I can't tell you what this means. Al Pi the Zohar. Go to your local Orthodox Mikubal and make sure he's legit. So close. Mikubal, Mekabel. My friends, I don't know what the Arizal say, but I do know one thing. If a person wants to find Hatzlacha, then they need to focus on the disparate letters that make up the totality of what he is. And when they cannot find success after focusing on those individual letters, understand that you did not go granular enough. So you break down what is the Shin. And I saw in this a tremendous lesson. There are times when we have bad Midot. So we focus on breaking those Midot. But we're not successful. You know what part of the reason is? Because sometimes you worked on your anger. But your anger, even though it underlies many of the bad things that you do, lashing out, screaming at people, lashon hara, taking revenge, it's actually not the core itself either. Some people have an anger that actually comes from ego. They're not angry people. They're just arrogant people. And when you think that the world revolves around you, everything makes you angry. Because anytime something is not about you for more than 1 second, you lose it. So imagine a guy who spent 40 days working on his anger, doesn't seem to be working. You know why? Because the Midot that you tried to uproot was actually not the Milui of that letter. I think this is what the Arizal is telling us on a more practical Ma'asi level. Maybe he's using kavanot to talk about it. I think this is what he means. And by this, you'll understand a very beautiful minhag that we have when the Torah comes out on Shabbat. The custom is not only to see the letters, but for a person to find the individual letters of his name in the Torah. That could just be a heebie-jeebie thing. But I'd like to suggest that maybe this is the origin source of that minhag. That when I could look in Torah and see the building blocks of who I am, that I don't get distracted by lo tikom, lo titor, lo telech rachil be'amecha. Don't kidnap somebody. Don't be jealous of them. I understand that the Torah is really about the building blocks of who I am. My arrogance, my ego, my impatience. And when I do that, and when I live that way, the Torah becomes this beautiful panacea that fixes all of the ailments, that a person has in their character and makes them the very best human being that they could possibly be. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi